All right, let's go. Welcome to another episode of eCom Reality, where we talk all things e-commerce, Meta ads, Google ads, Shopify, email, and in this one, actually, we will talk about something new, and that is influencer marketing. So, why talk about influencer marketing? Well, because we live in a creator economy, more or less. People are kind of sick of brands, and this is something that me personally, with the brands that I work with, 6, 7, 8-figure brands, they need and they use, and it helps them. And let's talk about it in stages here, right? So why do you need it? Well, first of all, you can't really have a brand if you just run ads. I mean, you can, however, you won't really scale too much because you don't create a brand, you don't create trust, right? Because personally, for example, if I check out or see an ad from a brand, right, I probably won't buy from them until I Google it or go on YouTube and try to see some comparisons, reviews, and so on, right? And most people will actually do that, right? Because there's enough content out there nowadays. So you definitely need to have some content out there. Maybe in the beginning when you do drop shipping, right, to test your product and everything, maybe you won't have it, but otherwise, like long term, if you want to get to 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million, right, it's something that you must actually do. And second, how to actually do it, right? Because I mean, there are multiple ways, but there are ways in which you can just like send a free product to creators, right? And this is basically called influencer seeding. And you can get some content, but this is where it's really important how you actually manage it, because you can do influencer seeding and no one will ever send you anything back because you didn't ask, right? So this is where it's important to have a strategy. So basically deciding, all right, I am giving some amount of product for free because I know that will give me content in return. Now, it depends on what kind of products you have and so on, but this works with almost anything. Basically, it can be a consumable, it could be a one-time product, it can be anything. So would definitely recommend. This is similar to what info guys actually do. When they start their program, they actually offer it for free or at a very low cost because they want to see like also what's the actual usefulness of that product, right, or service. And then they also get reviews, right? So that's how you get the wheel running. And I'm also talking about this because even me myself, as someone who has an agency, right, I just received a review, I think yesterday, from someone on Trustpilot, and usually I don't really ask for reviews, and that's on me, because if I don't ask for reviews, someone isn't going to give it, right? Because like that's still 5 minutes of their time, 10 minutes of their time, or they might not just even think about it, right? They might not even know if it's helpful or not. But this is something that basically builds over time. That's how you build a brand or reputation, and it's similar, as you can see, for someone who owns an agency and even for a brand, because it's the same thing, personal brand or a brand, the typical type of brand, right, of a company. And what I want to point out here is that even if you do something like influencer seeding, you actually need to do it with the strategy. I wouldn't say it's anything hard, right? Basically, you could just like take this transcript of what I just said and then ask ChatGPT for some help, right? You don't have to do anything crazy, fancy, or something like that. So it's pretty easy. You just have to actually think about it and then do it, right? It's always a mix of strategy and then execution. If you watch this type of videos, then basically at least you know the strategy, but then someone also has to execute, right? Either you or someone you work with. So, besides that, what else? Now, you can also collaborate, right, with creators, with influencers, and this is in a paid way, right? Like you actually need to pay, especially bigger creators, in order to promote your product. Now, the thing with this is that it can be a hit or miss for sure. So that's why this actually has to be handled really carefully, I would say, because, for example, I do have one brand right now, actually not just one, at least two that come to mind, that do a great job of actually talking with influencers. But the thing is that, for example, I'm not the one managing it, because you actually need someone who manages this influencer manager, or depending how you want to name that role, right? Community manager, could be any similar name. But the thing is that you, as someone who runs ads, for example, you might have seen that whenever you run ads and a brand already has an organic following, you have an easier time converting, right? And that's because the organic following is the one that's going to actually see your ads, and because they already have that trust, they will convert at a higher rate, right? So this is where you actually see how important it is when you don't have just ads, but you also have the organic side. But in order to have the organic side, like you need to build it. It's not just one person, one creator, one influencer that you work with, right? It takes time. But think of it like this: if you work with the creator, influencer, micro influencer, right? You get their audience, right? So you get a few people to know about your brand, even though you just work with like one person, right? And then if you work with 10 people, right, and everyone has, let's say, a 1,000 audience, right? You get to around 10,000 people. We're doing a lot of math here, but just as an example, you get to 10,000 people by just working with 10, right? Because you take their audience. And this is something that personally I don't really care about. I mean, we're usually not talking here about organic on this channel, right? But the thing is that if those influencers, creators, have some kind of videos that they create, and then if you are allowed to use them, especially for ads, then that's basically content. And content is the name of the game for sure, because I do know an agency, a creative agency that I've also worked with in the past. I've recommended it to some of my clients as well, because like I don't work with paid actors and so on to create them content, right? I'm more of a data guy. Email and paid ads, the only things that me and my team currently help with. And basically that creative agency charges around, I would say, 8K per 6 or 8 videos. So that means $1,000 per video, right? And why is that? Well, because it's direct response. It's not some kind of shitty video. It's actually scripted, prepared, edited, working with the actual paid actors. It's their time as well. So everything is actually really well, I would say, engineered, right? It's not necessarily left to chance. That doesn't mean that the ads will work, honestly. Like, that's why I can't recommend to like every brand that I work with to work with that agency, which is kind of expensive, right? And the question is, would they rather work with like that agency that will create 8 videos and then will they run the ads, or would they rather work with someone like me who helps with the ads, with the strategy, right? I mean, in terms of priority, they actually usually need someone who is more of a strategy person before they even know about what to do, right? That's why in order of priority, of course, usually paid ads are among the first, that if you can optimize, then you have the luxury of investing in other things, such as, let's say, email. Because email, honestly, if you don't have an audience, if you don't have customers from paid ads, you probably won't need anyone to manage email. So that's why it's usually paid ads, email, probably after that CRO, even though ideally with CRO, I mean, you have something that's CRO optimized from the beginning, right? But usually CRO agencies are expensive, right? Even becoming an expert at that takes time and energy. So that's why most people would just go with what's out of the box from Shopify. And just to recap here, because I know we're on 10 minutes here almost. So basically, working with influencers, making sure they give you content, making sure you actually give them scripts as well when possible, or at least angles, some kind of help for them to create content, because it's not like they will know exactly what you want. And it's really windy here. I'll try to reduce the noise in CapCut. So sorry for that. However, I'll try my best here to still say a couple of things as a recap, and that would be here that you do need to have some collaborations. You do need to have partners when it comes to content, because unless you are the face of the brand and you actually create content, which ideally you don't in most cases, especially if you want to be like the business owner, right? You just won't have time in most cases. Like 95% plus of the brands will have some kind of business owner that does the strategy and everything, right? He's not or she's not the creator, right? Them, they, whatever pronouns. So that's basically what I wanted to share today. The fact that you do need to work with creators, influencers, and in terms of cost and everything, or, and I didn't even use the word UGC here. You can just like find UGC creators and try to make sure that they help with content, right? From what I know, you shouldn't pay more than around $200 per video. I mean, of course, there's always more to pay, but like for a UGC creator, if you pay more than 200, then basically you just have the luxury of spending more, which if you are there, props to you. But otherwise, yeah, I would say that it's better to have low risk investments that can come with a higher potential gain, you know? So that's what I would recommend, because I just don't like risk. I mean, I do like some risk, but calculated risk. And I would say that's just more calculated. So if you enjoyed this video, you can leave a like. If you haven't watched some of the other videos and still want some of my thoughts, which might be helpful if you listen until this part of the video. And basically until next time, peace out.